This is a space for collaborative leaders who are done choosing between people and performance. They're ready to build healthier cultures, lead with emotional resilience, and redefine what sustainable leadership looks like in the real world.
Welcome to the Shine Advantage Leadership Advantage podcast, where we explore how women leaders can leverage their personal growth to build happy, healthy, and high-performing cultures without the burnout. I'm your host, Jennifer Cavender, executive coach and consultant, and as someone who spent 20 years as a CPA, motivated by other people's desires for me, I'm now passionate about showing leaders how to leverage joy for better results and less stress. In partnering with Debbie Prediger, founder of the Be Extraordinary Women's Network and the creator of the Shine Framework, I discovered that Shine principles are so important to our personal growth and the foundation of my own leadership coaching and the principles I teach my clients. If you are new here, be sure to go and listen to episode 0, where I interviewed Debbie Prediger on why this conversation is so important now and why she asked me to host this podcast. Today, I'm here with Poliana Conti to talk about when inner alignment creates outer impact. As the founder of Partners for Growth, Poliana is a people and culture advisor and an executive coach, helping leaders align who they are with how they lead. With over 25 years of experience supporting executives across 44 countries, she has guided organizations through transformation and growth, always beginning with self-awareness and inner alignment as the foundation of sustainable results. Welcome, Poliana. How are you?
Very good. Thank you, Jen. Thank you and Debbie for the invite. I'm very excited to be here with you.
Oh, well, we're excited to have you. I think this conversation is so relevant and so important now. And so give us a brief overview of how you came to do what you're doing now.
So it has been a journey. It's always a journey, right? During the pandemic, when I was driving a huge transformation in organization, and I found that I was not being myself, and I was already co-creating a new position for myself, right? So the company's leaders were misaligned, not completely on their self, right-centered. And also I felt during the pandemic that I was meant for more. I think that a lot of people start to think through and look deeper. And then I decided to, you know what, I have been in this corporate America, global responsibility for 20 years, and seeing so many leaders getting outside of their comfort zone, especially you mentioned about you also as a CPA for so long, and trying to find, okay, I want to also to find my essence, right, again. And that's exactly where I was. And I felt that it was time for me to build my company and impact more people, not more leaders and more companies to also build sustainable cultures.
So beautiful and important. It's awesome to be a leader inside of an organization, but wow, to leave that sort of safety and comfort because you really want to see more leaders impacted by the knowledge that you've gained is amazing. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
So you and I met at a Shine event online, a virtual event through Debbie, where we talk about one of the principles, the 5 principles of Shine, and we kind of go deeper into it. And the Shine members are really learning how these 5 principles impact a healthy, happy, thriving life. But what we talk about here on the podcast is how these principles can help you have a thriving, happy, healthy leadership and business life. So when you look at the SHINE principles, which are self-awareness, healing, trusting your intuition, nurturing yourself, and evolving, which one of those principles resonates most with you and your message?
Well, the entire shine concept resonates with me, right, to start with. But self awareness is very critical, not only for all of us, but for leaders. If the leader is self aware, and I'm not saying leader that has teams, right? Leader, we as leaders, regardless of our position in the organization. So when I think about leadership, the self-awareness is so critical because it's so easy for you to get into the automatic on your day to day and not live by the principles and your values. And even it's very easy when you have the pressure in a corporation to lose your essence. And if you start doing that on automatic, you lose without self-awareness, you lose and you start to create a culture and making an impact that's completely opposite that the impact that you want to make.
Mm.
So what I mean is when I think about the inner game for the outer impact is for us to be self-aware in terms of anything that I say and even my own energy. If I don't control my energy, my frequency, and how I'm operating, it's very easy for you to get into the burnout. It's very easy for you to not feel that you are in a win-win situation or that you're giving more than you are receiving. I like to say, I invite everybody, reclaim your power because it's not
Mm.
about the company is made of all of us, right? So
Mm.
if we all reclaim our power, we create an environment that is good for everyone.
Yes. And sometimes we love that idea, but we're not quite sure how to do that. You have a framework that you
Mhm.
use with your clients.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, for me, when I went through this the soul searching, right? When I left the organization, deciding to leave, and I say, okay, what is my identity, and why I do, and why I grew as much as I grew, and how I saw leaders doing that. So the partnership is the big thing for me. So that's why I created the partners method, or I would say strategic framework or guide, because everything starts with a purpose. So if you think about your purpose, and if you are in a company aligned, that is also aligned with your purpose, with the vision, with the mission, your level of energy is completely on in terms of motivation. And if you align that internally, that turns into power, right? So the P is purpose, the A is alignment. So those are 8 steps that I created. R would come with the relationship. So you align with all the stakeholders. How do they see your brand? How do they see you as a brand? All your stakeholders. Are you representing your brand? And the T would come with the trust, right? So that is all, the trust. And then nurturing is exactly how do you continue to nurture the trust. That's why I mentioned about the shine and how it resonates with me. And as you nurture and you build that trust and you get all that presence and you aligned with your brand, I understand that the nurturing and the engagement comes with the execution. And for
Mm.
you to have that execution and the real growth and sustainable results, then there are 4 Gs that I say those are the 4 Gs. That is really the touch or the cherry on top, which is the 4 Gs, which means be grounded, have grace, gratitude, governance.
Mm.
throughout your career, especially outside, right, in life. What I see is a lot of times when leaders don't grow as they would like to grow, or C levels are not performing the way that they would like, is one of the things are disaligned. It's not having grace, I mean, not being nice, it's being kind. So the kindness is not there. And or gratitude to their own life or to their teams or to the company even. And that is something that is lost. And not having that governance in terms of, hey, am I every day making decisions that are aligned with my values and the values of the company? Long
Yes.
answer, but gave you my entire framework.
Yes, I love it. I love this idea of, first of all, I love the idea of partnership because collaboration and partnership has always been sort of a core value for me. I really love the way that I thrive within partnership. And so just the foundation of that excites me. And then all of the other things in addition. So, as an HR strategist is really what you have been with multinational organizations, many different multinational organizations. You're aware of what impacts culture, corporate culture. And so when you put together this framework, who is this message for? Like, what is the group of individuals that you would love to impact the most with this framework?
So what I see, I'm impacting people from human resources and executives. So the C levels, the CHROs, and when we identify and we map out and doing an assessment in terms of where is the bottleneck, is that on purpose? Is that what is not clear in terms of those partners, this partners framework? Then we do this assessment and create an hypothesis, right? So then we do the focus group to see is that really aligned, like is a real diagnostic, right? So where should we start? And when I think about growth, I'm not going to say that's the formula for growth, but that's how I see in terms of building the culture. How do you really align everything internally? So then you walk the talk, you create message in a culture of the power of we, right? It's all about the theme of partnership. And when you think about growth, it can go in different forms, right? If you build a culture where people trust you, and what I help leaders is when you think about partnership is identify understanding that the retention of your team and the engagement of your team, thinking of the collective is one thing, but it's individual. So nobody knows what is growth for Jen. The leader is important to know what is important for you because that's personal. When it comes to growth and success, it's personal. So it can be even someone that is a great salesperson, but is not going to turn into a great sales manager because they love to go and to be out there selling, not managing or doing administrative work. So the typical example, right, in terms of the match of what is growth for you. And it's no longer growing in career, right? That's another thing for all of us need to understand as the organizations are more matrix. So how do you build a culture that people feel that they are still growing even though we don't have so many opportunities? So what is there for you?
Poliana, I think one of the very unique things about you, and something that I hope you will be able to teach others to do, is this ability to know and understand the goal, right? Because we all want to grow. Because one of your responsibilities as an HR leader and strategist was to help the businesses grow, the companies merge in new acquisitions and different things like that. But you always stay grounded in the individual. and
Mhm.
the needs of the people, because it is the greatest asset of organizations. How have you kept that ability? Because I have seen so many leaders under the pressure of a corporate culture lose that ability to see the individual. What is it about you that helps you stay grounded in that?
I think it's being authentic, and because that's caring. I do care. And when I say care, there is a balance there between the strategy of the company, because there is no way for us to be able to impact organization without knowing what is the organization stand for, what is the goal, what is the strategic plan, what is the 5-year plan, what is the vision, the mission. So that's why everything starts with the purpose. So as you build that partnership with the organization, for you to really feel engaged and valued, I see that we all have a responsibility to understand, okay, what is the main goal? With my position HR as the business partner globally, or when I was local HR back in Brazil, my responsibility was always in my mind, okay, how do I turn this long-term strategy into the people initiative? So how do we connect the big, right, vision with the people initiatives? So it's constant, but when I go and I talk to the executive or the C level, the CEO or the CFO, there I'm entirely with him or with her, right? In terms of do we need? What is the strategy on this M&A? Do we really want to move forward with this change? Is the culture the right culture for us? And is the culture of the new company even better? How do we do a reverse engineering on this acquisition? So it's all about understanding and hearing. And if
Yeah.
employees see that they have a voice and they have someone out there watching, and that
Yes.
you have your back.
One of the things that I loved doing before I left my career as a CPA was I led the mentorship program in our firm.
Mhm.
And one of the things I implemented when I took that over is I would ask everyone as they were submitting their goals for the year, I would ask them to connect it with the mission and the vision of the organization. And how does your goals connect with the goals of the department that they were in and the firm as a whole? So I love that you always have that in mind. Has there ever been a time when it's been hard to choose people over profit? Have you ever been challenged in that belief that you need both?
I'm very abundant. I think that when we came to times where I had to work on transformations, where we had to have a reduction in force, what I thought about is it's not personal, first thing. And I'm glad that it's me that is here to do this, to lead that effort, because we are going to do it right. We are going to do it with care. And depending on the way, people get upset. So you're not lucky or you're not happy with the outcome sometimes. But depending on how we handle the situation, it can be understanding, it can be much more smoother, right? It can be smoother than we thought it would be. There were some transformations where I was with a big company and we lost a government contract. We submitted in the RFP, the request for proposal, and the competitor won. And I had about 2 months and a half to transition out for about 500 people. And we didn't even, some of them helped a mission to help the people go to the moon. So high impact organization, high impact team, mission oriented, great professionals. That was one time that I felt that I wasn't grounded. I wasn't having grace. I wasn't having gratitude, right? And when I realized, well, here's my burnout coming in because I was getting with all that situation. I was so passionate, working around the clock to be able to help all those people transition into the competitor, not
Mm.
only lose their jobs, but the impact on the rest of the organization and the people. I felt, okay, I need to help. I'm glad it's me. We are going to do it right. But it was very stressful. So that's why I also reinforce it. I'm glad that it's me. How do we reinforce the message that we are going to go through this, but we are going to go through this together, right? So different situations, even another organization that wasn't getting the break even. So how do we engage the entire team, cadre, to get the organization to accomplish what we need to accomplish together? So then we don't need to lose jobs. And
Yeah.
now, right, we are getting to the stage of job hugging. It's right. We went through all the phases of job cracking, and I see the tendencies now, Jen, and people with the job market right now, the labor market. That's the new thing, right? That it's coming, job hugging. That it also benefits and some challenges with this.
Yeah. Wow, it's so interesting because you can really see how the principles that you teach now in your partners would have helped you in that situation, right? But it's part of how
Learning.
you, yeah, how you grew and how you discovered that these things would be helpful. Because I feel like sometimes that burnout, when that comes to us, that's an indication. Sometimes we think, oh, I just need a break. I need a vacation time. But when we come back, we're the same person. We have the same work in front of us, and the burnout just is sitting there waiting for us. Having some of these principles to actually implement so that we show up differently in the same situation is actually what helps us to solve that burnout issue.
And
So
be self-aware, back to the self-awareness, because it's not about the environment, it's not about the situation. So being grounded, that's why I use that as the first one. Being grounded is the first one,
mm,
right? Because it's, you're not going to change necessarily the outcome, but the way that you are going to go through the process makes a big difference to you and to others. So
mm,
being positive, right? Trying to really still be a good influencer in the organization, to have a positive environment for you and for others. So, okay, what are the options? So when we see that you tried all the options, and then at the end of the day, that's what needs to happen, let's do it with kindness. Let's do it with grace. So then, and one thing that I associate also burnout sometimes, it can be also because you are not doing what you like to do, or you are not being
mm,
seen, or you're just living by in a situation where you are not having joy. So that
mm.
comes to self-awareness again.
I think knowing what your core gifts are and being able to use those gifts in your everyday carrying out of your job and your work, it doesn't mean that you have to 100% be operating in your gifts all of the time. But when you have, actually, there's some statistics on that. When you have a 20% of your job being something that you love doing, it really does skyrocket the impact and the productivity that you get from your employees. So,
Especially if you're aligned with your essence. So if you know what you love doing and you are connected with, you do what you love. That's why I always say stick with your passion. Is find your passion. That's feeling that you worked all day and you didn't really even realize that you did the work all day. Looks like time stops.
absolutely, absolutely. And that's what Patrick Lencioni says is that if you're working within your genius, you have all the energy in the world to do that all day long.
Exactly. Exactly. And I am, authorized partner for the five behaviors as well. So I really enjoy, what Patrick Lencioni's comments, and it's all good.
Yes, yes. So, from your perspective, being in so many different cultures, what do you see is the biggest enemy of a healthy, thriving, and fulfilling workplace?
I see that the biggest enemy can be when people are not identifying the importance of slowing down
Mm.
to go faster later.
Mm.
That people have different personalities and their different profiles, and everybody can contribute.
Mhm.
If you don't see the importance of the melting pot and seeing the value of on every single position, every single person, I see that you start to drain the culture and damage the culture,
Mm.
especially if you don't have the team that is aligned and you don't live by your values. There are so many times that sometimes we put too much into the play without noticing and or assessing this is the right time for the change.
Mm.
Is the team ready for the change? Right? Doing that typical assessment of is this time the right time? Is the right team? Right? Who is stop? Right? And pause. Even though you have a strategic plan, but look at the scenarios and say, okay, is this still a good time to implement a change?
Wow, that is so perfect. I think the power of the pause has been really effective for me over the last year, and realizing that scheduling the time to slow down and really look at what has happened, take some time to review, take some time to vision and get aligned with what I desire, and to bring these things together to say, what are my aligned actions? Not what did the last person do before me, or what is the person behind me screaming at me to do? Right?
Yeah, I'm thinking about alignment as a leadership team. Sometimes we just go with the plan, we build a plan, or we're already committed to the board, and we don't have the courage to push back
Mm.
sometimes. And then we just go with the plan without that active listening and even without intentionally assessing, okay, did the scenario change? We look at the market, okay, we work on market intelligence a lot of times, but we not always identify and accept the pause to get through to do something else first or prepare something else first. So can I give an example of a situation?
Yes.
So we were implementing DNI, right? Let's say one critical topic for across the company, and we were ready to go with the providers, the vendors, everything with a huge team involved. Then the CEO paused and said, well, why don't we let's work as a team first? Let's work with the leadership team first. And I'm okay to hold on the entire implementation for the entire company because I realize that we have our own biases. Let's work on our biases first. Or we just had an acquisition and we had a team in South Korea that were in an office and we were thinking, maybe they are sales, so maybe they can work from home, right? That was before the pandemic. But as we went there to visit and we did start to listen to the organization, to that team, the leader said, don't do that, please. We need to get out of our houses, right? So there are so many components on a decision that if you don't stop and pause and listen, we have probably put together a strategy saying, okay, we are going to reduce costs with that office closure, but we probably would lose the entire team if we moved forward with that plan.
Wow, that's such a great example of really paying attention
Mhm.
to the individuals that are performing the tasks instead of assuming what they would love.
And their culture. Because
Yes.
the answer was, and I asked the question, why? Why you don't want to? Because in my mind, right? So you are in sales, you travel a lot, so you probably enjoy, in my mindset, and the mindset of the leader. But then the answer was no. My neighbors need to see me getting out of the house. If they don't see me going to work, I can be perceived as a failure or unemployed. Or my wife also needs to me to get out of the house, right? There are so because of different reasons. She doesn't want me to be at home all the time. And so then she would bring up water or need to feed me or something like that. So all the different components from that culture or the culture of that team in that culture that we look at each other and say, wow, okay, understood. We don't want to lose you, the entire team. We understood there were other things too, closer to the clients and all of that. But just one visit that we paid before we move on with the strategy in an acquisition made a big difference.
Mm. Wow, it's so powerful. Well, Poliana, I would love for you to just share with us a vision of what's possible when women and leaders really tap into some of these principles that we've been talking about, self-awareness, and all of the things that we've talked about today. Give us a vision of what is possible for them.
It's a vision, and I vibrate on all over this because I have seen it. I've seen environments where people were heard, people felt engaged, people felt welcomed. So if the ideal and the vision that I have is people, organizations, and people grow together. Imagine everybody rowing the same direction, everybody understanding the purpose of the company, everybody feeling okay to be vulnerable and say, hey, this is happening to me. And having the leader saying, oh, okay, understood. I got it. Why you did what you did now. So I will have your back. So go there. It's going to be faster. The pace is going to pick up, right? But let's go on and do this together. So it's not about putting the pressure or not having the results, a high performance team. It is having a high performance team with everybody engaged. So I believe that I've seen it. That's why I really want to impact more organizations that didn't have that privilege.
Oh. Well, I would love for you to give the audience one small step. If they're feeling overwhelmed, they feel burnt out, they can see some of the issues that you talked about in their own organization, and they just don't know how to fix it, where to start because it seems so big. What would
Be grounded, identify the impact, and imagine the impact that you can make in your organization one by one person at a time, one leader at a time. Everybody comes to work and want to do a good job. You want to do a good job. Your leader wants to do a good job. The board wants to do a good job, right? Everybody wants to do a good job. Something is happening. If it's not, something is broken, just try with love, right? Be that kind, bring that kindness. That's why I bring the 4Gs together. Be grounded to understand and be self-aware of, okay, this is happening. I identify that this is happening. I'm not happy. That's the first step. And then say, what can be my contribution? What is my part? Start to influence. I believe that our energy can expand. And it's all about the collective, right? I'm not only talk about it in our house, in ourselves. So we reclaim your power. Make a decision to reclaim your power. That's the first step.
So beautiful. Well, how can people connect with you?
So LinkedIn is a big one. On my website, www.polianaconti.com. That is also an assessment for the partners. If you are an executive and you are out there in your organization and you want to say, okay, let's see what happens here, go there. There is a free assessment of the partners, which is what is your organizational partnership maturity assessment. So go there and just for fun or curiosity, if you are curious, and schedule an appointment with me. would be a pleasure to be able to serve.
Oh, well, thank you. We've put up your new YouTube channel so people can go there and hear what you have to say. Thank you so much, Poliana, for what you
Thank
do
you.
and for supporting your clients in the way that you do and for sharing a little piece of your genius with us today.
Very good. Thank you. The YouTube is going to be messy. Portuguese, English. I am going with the flow. So it's going to be interesting. But the key point is sending the message.
Yes. Well, and important that they can join you in other languages.
Very true. You can see Spanish,
Oh,
English, or Portuguese out there.
all right. Thank you so much. Well, if this conversation resonated with you on a personal level, I would love for you to connect with Poliana on YouTube or on LinkedIn or on her website. Sounds like a wonderful assessment that we all need to take if we're leaders in an organization. And if you desire to be a part of a thriving community that will hold you accountable for the kinds of works that we talk about, the kind of inner work that is really powerful for helping you become a leader and having outward results that Poliana talked about today. The Shine Circle is a great place to do that. And it's a beautiful space for women to connect and to learn and to grow in the ways that really impact your leadership. Because the bottom line is that cultures don't start with better perks and policies. They start with leaders who are willing to heal and grow and lead from a place of wholeness and joy. And that is the Shine Leadership Advantage. Thank you for joining us.